Dr. Kathy Gruver, welcome to the Listening Bee. You're a 2 times TEDx speaker, an author of 8 books, and a coach with over 30 years of experience. And you're also a flying trapeze artist, which is amazing. And you've studied mind body medicine at Harvard and developed stress reduction techniques for the US military. And you've also taught in 4 continents, which is amazing because travel and sharing your message with the world is just beautiful. And I'm so grateful to have you here. So, welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I appreciate you.
Yeah. So I can see why all of those experiences have allowed you to help so many people, but why don't you tell us some of the reasons why you think you've succeeded so well in everything that you've done here?
Yeah, I think being really type A helps. I'm less type A than I was maybe 5 years ago, but I still wake up every morning and recognize that I have the opportunity to help people, whether it's one on one in my office or whether I'm facilitating at a retreat or I'm speaking at a conference. Everything I do gets to help other people. And what a beautiful reason to wake up every day. Even doing the podcast, even on days I'm not working, there's still stuff out there that gets to hopefully help influence people to be healthier, to be more awake, to be just better all around people. And in the world today, wouldn't it be great if we could all just do something to be all around better people? So, yeah, it's just that drive. And my father was very much an inspiration to me. He passed away, I think, 7 years ago now, but he was my biggest fan. I'm an only child. I was his son, his daughter, his sibling, but he pushed me to do the best I could do, and he challenged me to do things that scared me. He challenged me to do things that were maybe a little off kilter or risk taking, like, I don't know, flying trapeze. So yeah, it's just sort of from birth, this is, I think, what I was supposed to be doing, and everything's conspired to put me in a place that I get to do it.
Wow, that is absolutely beautiful that you have this passion and this ability to help people. Thank you for sharing that about your father
Yeah.
too. That's such a beautiful story.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and I'd love to know more. I know that you talk a lot about ego states and how we can optimize them and how we have like many different personalities. Because a lot of people think, oh, I am this way for everything, when, sometimes we're not. And then we get upset about ourselves because we didn't do something we thought we did. Anyway, can you talk a little bit about what ego states are and give some examples of how people can use them to their advantage?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're called ego states, they're called internal family systems, it's called parts work, it's resource state therapy. It's all the same thing. Um, but they are looking at those parts of ourselves. So, like, you're different around your parents than you are around your friends at school, than you are around, like, the party out at somebody's house, than you are around little kids, than you are at your job, or hopefully we're different in all those places. So we have the ability to be different people in different circumstances, right? So those are called ego states, or that's the internal family that we all have. And sometimes they get a little out of control, right? They all are parts. There's no bad parts, to quote Richard Schwartz. It's a great book, but great book, by
I
the
have
way.
it.
There, oh yeah, of course, there are no bad parts. But there are times that parts get a little bit out of control. So my main part, not surprisingly, is called Capricorn. Um, I call her Capricorn just because I happen to be a Capricorn and she fits Capricorn. It has nothing to do with astrology, because I have people like, I'm a Libra. I'm like, oh, good. It's not what we're talking about. But she is great. She's allowed me to get my PhD. All the things you read in my bio, that's been Capricorn. Very successful, natural leader, great communicator. But at times, she gets a little too big for her britches, and she becomes controlling and cold and emotionless and so driven that she forgets everything else around. Capricorn's great at making the vacation plans. She'll get you the best seat on the plane, the greatest hotel. You do not want her on the trip. She is not fun. Um, but if there's a flight delay or if they lost your bag, oh, she's right there to make sure everything is like put back together. So we all have these parts. They're formed in childhood. They're hardwired into our brain. So this is not like a psychological concept of, oh, I feel like I have these parts. We have these parts. It's been proven time and time again. And so what Richard Schwartz did, and he was the kind of the main guy that's leading the charge on this right now, even though others have done this before him. He's made it really mainstream and has written books and done workshops and webinars that have allowed sort of just the common man to start to understand this sort of system. And once we get to know our parts, we can pick what part comes forward. right? So you wouldn't walk into a corporation and just start assigning roles. You have to meet them, you have to know what they do. So the more we know those aspects of ourselves, the healthier they can be, the better they can be, the better we can all around be. And under all of these parts, there's these little shameful kids, the hurt kids, the scared kids. So these parts like Capricorn come forward to protect those most vulnerable parts of us. And then to complicate it more, above all of that is this concept of self. And self is us with no parts on. It is just that sort of post meditation, that breath work, that I did a really good run, that non-reactive, just present space. And from there, we can see other people's parts better, we can see our own parts better, and if someone comes at us hurt or angry or scared, we can sit in this place of self, which is a place of compassion, curiosity, caring, courage. There's 8 C's, I can never remember all of them at once. Um, but we become more compassionate towards them, more supportive of them, less reactive, and it's just sort of a better way to be. So the goal would be to spend most of your day in self. Now, we still have to get up and put pants on. So at some point, a part is gonna have to come in and get us to work and get us to do what we do. But if from there we can mostly come from this very neutral place of non-reactivity, how beautiful would that be, right? So it's just a system of sort of psychology of identifying these pieces of ourselves. How do we make them as healthy as we can be?
Wow, that's a beautiful explanation with so many different parts to it, like we're talking about. Oh, wow. And when it comes to when someone asks you, like, who are you? Then we can't really answer it's one thing because there's so many different things that, like you say, they come up at different times and we need
Yep.
them all for different reasons. But
100%.
yeah, that's amazing. And I also feel like a lot of people, me especially and people my age, we can be hard on ourselves if a certain part comes up and things like that. And I know you talk a lot about acceptance. How can we integrate that and become that overarching self with compassion and curiosity?
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about emotion for a second.
Sure.
Excuse me. The emotions are not the problem. Our relationship with the emotion is a problem. So if you get angry because a friend did something that upset you or somebody hurt your feelings and you get angry about that, great. Be angry about that. The problem comes when we're now beating ourselves up for that emotion. Oh, I shouldn't have felt that way. Oh, I feel bad for feeling that way. Just feel that way, right? Because so often as we were very young children, our feelings weren't validated, our feelings weren't held, we weren't told what to do with those feelings. I mean, I don't when I was throwing a tantrum, I don't remember my parents sitting me down and going, "Kathy, what's wrong? You seem upset. Let's talk about it." It was, I've heard this from so many clients. "Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about," was a common one in my generation. Hopefully, you guys aren't hearing that one anymore. We don't wanna see that. Go in your room and do that. Big boys don't cry. You're being, all these things that we're fed as a child, and I feel like that's shifting. I have no good proof of that other than talking to people your age and in their early 20s who were like, "Oh, my parents are pretty good about that." But so we had to shove our emotions. We weren't told what to do with those. So now when we have an emotion, we feel bad about it because we were made to feel bad about having an emotion when we were young. So if you just feel the emotion, don't sit in it, don't dwell in it. But if you feel it fully, then it's going to be more apt to pass through quickly. So I'm all about people having emotions. I have an emotional tone wheel in my office because sometimes it's hard to name them. So it's like, "How are you feeling right now?" "I don't know." And I hand them this piece of paper and they go around the like, "Oh, I feel this and I feel that." So if you're at all interested in emotions, just ask your search engine for an emotions wheel. It's great. And if you haven't seen Inside Out, oh my God, go see Inside Out because that's parts. That's exactly the parts that we were just talking about a second ago. And the second one, bringing anxiety in, it's exactly how it works. And I know that they brought a psychologist in for that movie who I know of him, who does a lot of internal family systems. So they had
Wow.
people consulting on that film that know parts, which is where the film came from. It's so phenomenally good.
It's
Does that
amazing
answer
that
your
they made a film for young children that can see that. I think that's so valuable.
Oh, I know. I mean, for adults too, because we don't understand how our emotions work. I kind of do because I've been studying it, but you ask your average person on the street, they don't know. And it's important to have them, and it's important to validate them, and it's important to feel them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wonderfully said. Thank you for sharing all of those ideas. And I also remember you mentioned once that there's a difference between, like, guilt and shame, because shame is that's, like, long term, and that's kind of what we do with emotions. We're like, "Oh, I'm feeling this way. I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel this way."
Right.
Guilt is you feel it and you move on.
Right.
Um,
Guilt
yeah.
is guilt is I'm walking past you and I accidentally step on your foot and I go, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry."
Mhm.
And you say, "Oh, no, that's okay." And then we're done with that. I might feel bad for a second because I know you just broke your toe and I would never want to hurt you on purpose. Shame is 6 weeks later, I'm like, "I am a piece of crap for stepping on your foot."
Mhm.
So it's that feeling that it's not what we did, it's who we are. And I think that's an important distinction to make because I have clients that sit in my office and they're like, I feel so guilty about blah, blah, blah. And I go, you know what I'm going to say? And they go, oh no, is that shame? And I go, yep,
There
because
you
we're
go.
not taught what that is.
Right.
Shame is useful when we're a child. It keeps us in line. It keeps the whole village protected. As adults, shame has no purpose. So if you have someone that's trying to shame you for something, it's they shouldn't be doing that, right? And it becomes this very sometimes narcissistic issue where they're using shame and this passive aggressive sort of gaslighty stuff to make you feel bad about yourself to keep you stuck so they can have control over you. That's the narcissist MO right there.
Wow, yeah, and a lot of times it seems like they can do it very subtly where you don't even realize it's inflicted from them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you start to wonder, am I the crazy one? Why do I feel so bad? It's like they've been doing that to you. They've been putting you in situations and saying things that undermine your sense of self, which is
Wow.
it's insidious and very nasty.
Well, it sounds like you know a little bit about that. How do you deal with that if you're in that situation and someone's making you feel that way and you maybe don't realize it? How can you figure that out and get out as fast as possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things, if you feel like you're the crazy one, if you find yourself yelling back at somebody and you're not really a yeller, the
Mhm.
love bombing thing, probably especially at your age, is really huge. Where it's just you're the most beautiful. Oh my god, I want to spend my life. They just this sudden outpouring of love, and you're like, I've known you 10 minutes. Like, what?
Yeah.
This is a first date. Why are you? Um, and just this there's a manipulation there, and people who are true narcissists, like, on that spectrum of narcissistic personality disorder, and you can have narcissistic tendencies and not be diagnosable as narcissistic. But it's sometimes hard to see because they're so intelligent, but over time, you start to see the pattern of, "Wait, why that isn't what I said. Why did you twist that?" Or they'll just be plain old, "I didn't say that." And you're like, "No, I'm pretty sure you did." So, setting boundaries just across the board, let's take narcissism out of it. Setting boundaries is so huge a thing, and please everybody start practicing that with small things, right? If you can set a boundary with a small thing, then over time that becomes comfortable for you and you can set boundaries with big things. But if someone's speaking to you in a way that you don't like, you have every right to say, I don't like how you're talking to me right now, or if you continue to raise your voice, we're done with this conversation. You can't speak to me that way. Sometimes just going, uh-huh, okay. Graystoning, just being so
Yeah.
neutral and almost sort of cold and emotionless, which Capricorn's great at. Because that's not what they want. They want that dynamic of that blah, 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 back and
The
forth,
reaction.
the reaction. So if they don't get that, if they don't get that emotional currency, then they'll just go on to the next person. Feel bad for the next person, but at least you're out of there. But you have every right to say, I will not continue this conversation if you continue to talk to me that way. And then stop. Hang up the
Wow.
phone, walk away, it's within your right to do that. No one deserves to be yelled at. And it's tough because at your age, whoever's listening, might have a parent that's still yelling or yelling. And that's really a hard one to deal with because you're living in their house. You can't just say, screw you and walk out. What are you going to do? Right. But it's important to recognize when boundaries are being crossed. And as soon as you can, enforce them and work on keeping them strong.
Wow, that is very powerful, and I know that a lot of the experiences that we have when we're young, that's what we're used to when we're older. So, what do you do in the situation where you've grown up your entire life being suppressed and yelled at, and you need to do everything? So you're already in that state, and you can't really like grow and get out of it. What do you do in that situation?
So we tend to pick a love interest, a life partner that is either our mother or our father or a combination of both. And
Mm.
this is one of the reasons why intimate relationships are so important because it allows us to sort of play out that psychodrama that we couldn't when we were kids. So it's not uncommon for a guy to be like, God, I married my mother. Of course you did. Of course you married your mother. Because am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay, there was shit that went on before. I always ask. There was shit that went on in your childhood that you couldn't manage, you couldn't fix. So now you get into an adult relationship that is that same dynamic so that you have the chance to fix that thing. It's inevitably, yeah, for all the young people out there, you're like, I don't want to grow them into my parents. You're going to. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I didn't want to do it either. And here we are. So just recognizing the patterns and finding a partner that you can have open communication with, that you have the ability to grow with. My husband and I, and today is our 6-year anniversary, by the way. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank
Aw.
you. Of when I who knew a dinner would turn into something so phenomenal. But there's cards called interactive cards, not interactive, but inner INNER active cards,
Okay.
and they're ego states. It's the internal family systems. And very early in our relationship, we sat down and I said, "This is the card I'm feeling, and this card leads to that card." And it's a beautiful way to get to know each other. So to me, the better that you know your partner, and the better that you're able to communicate how you're feeling, what you need. Wow, my mother used to talk to me that way. Can I ask you not to say that phrase? Or, it takes self awareness, and then it takes some balls to be able to sit your partner down or a friend and say, dude, I don't like when you do that. Like it doesn't feel good to me. It reminds me of fill in the blank. So recognizing what you need inside and then being able to find ways to communicate that to the people around you, that's the key to a successful relationship. But if you grew up in a household with yelling, with discord, with abuse, with get therapy now. I mean, like, go seriously, like, go talk to somebody as soon as you can.
Yeah.
A coach. I mean, I have clients who are in their early 20s who we work through some of that crap that happened, you know, a smaller time ago. Don't wait till you're my age to be like, I should probably fix this. As soon as you can, let people know what you're struggling with. And there are helping professions that will be there for you to help you figure some of the stuff out. There's amazing books, but there's nothing better than sitting across from a human being, since I know we were going to talk about AI,
Yeah.
and have these conversations and get this insight. It's
Wow.
just, it's not, there's no stigma. I mean, the stigma is fading, but if you need to talk to somebody, talk to them, talk to them.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think I needed to hear that because it's like, yeah, it's scary to think about, oh, you marry people that are like your parents. And it's like, I love my parents, but I don't want to marry someone like that. And
But
so
you
getting in
will.
touch with, yeah, but getting in touch with yourself and fixing that and going to therapy or talking to people, that sounds like it's a very important and crucial step if you're in a situation like that.
Yeah, absolutely, because you don't want to keep replaying that.
Mhm.
They say hurt people hurt people. Yes, I mean, and if you've been hurt your entire life, chances are you've fallen into a pattern where you feel like you deserve that, you don't deserve better. Your sense of self has been diminished to the point where the first guy, and it typically goes this way, the first guy that gives you the time of day, you're like, oh, thank God you're rescuing me from my parents. And then you end up back in the same situation, usually worse,
Mhm.
because predators have this amazing ability to find that person that, you know, is broken. And there's nothing wrong with being broken. And, we've all been broken. We've all had trauma, big T or little t. So there's no shame in that. But predators, if you watch any of the things on Netflix about cults, I don't want to say I love cults, but I love learning about cults. It's just one of those
Yeah.
things where I go, oh, just let me watch more of that. But how they pick who they bring into who they target,
Yeah.
and even if you look at the Jeffrey Epstein stuff and you listen to some of the interviews of these girls,
Yep.
they were not in a happy-go-lucky family. I would not have been
No.
a target for them.
Mhm.
I just wouldn't have been. So they prey on the most vulnerable, which is the saddest thing. So if you find yourself in that position right now, get help as soon as you can and recognize the first guy that sweeps you off your feet may or may not be authentic in that desire to
Mhm.
take care of you.
Wow, that's a perfect lead in because I really wanted to ask about, like, if you're in that vulnerable situation where you have, like, kind of that shy, timid type, if you put on a mask of, "Oh, I'm confident, I'm this, I'm that," can they sense through that? Do you know?
That's a good question. I think the case is more if you're one of those people that's been so broken down, I don't know that you have a mask to put on.
Mm,
I think it would be harder to fake that, "Oh, I'm good, I'm fine." I don't know that they'd be able to do that. I don't know that for sure, but I do know that they know who to pick.
Okay.
They know who to target.
Fascinating.
They know who is gonna fall for it. They know, I was never gullible like that as a kid, and now as an adult. Have I been, I got hacked on Instagram because a friend of mine said, "Send me this code," and I went, "Okay," like a doofus, and I went, "Oh, no, 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 no." So, even I fall for crap, right? This is just life. People are bad out there sometimes, and they prey on those of us who are good, and you're gonna fall for it every once in a while. But hopefully, it's not a life-changing thing where you end up in an abusive relationship where you can't get out.
Right.
I'll
So
take my Instagram being stolen.
that's better than the alternatives.
Yeah.
Wow. So for younger people like me that are maybe like young adults or getting into the world of relationships and things like that, back onto the side of therapy, how do you see hypnosis coming into that? Because I know that you've done some hypnotherapy. Is that more beneficial, less beneficial than coaching? And then also now there's AI. Is that helpful?
Ah. Let's start with hypnotherapy. I started doing hypnotherapy when I was your age.
Oh, really?
I was obsessed with it. I thought it was the coolest thing. My mom got sick when I was very young. She died when I was 18.
Mm,
And in the course of her treatment, she went to this pain management guy. She had cancer on her spine. It was incredibly painful. They gave her a hypnosis tape. And I was like, "Oh, I've read about this." And they're like, "How have you read about this?" And I went, "I find stuff." No internet back then, right? So I was digging through library books and I would, okay, here's a secret. I would steal the book out of the library and I would read it and then I'd put it back because I seriously thought they would call my mother and go, "Do you know your daughter's reading about witchcraft?" I didn't really want to face my very Catholic, sick mother scolding me for reading,
yes.
books on ghosts. So I would sneak them out. I always took them back. I always took them back. Um, but I was reading about hypnosis. So when they gave her this hypnosis tape, it was a tape, actual tape. I was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool." She listened to it once. She claimed it didn't do anything for her. And then she passed it on to me, to me. Um, well, I didn't need pain management at that point. But the other side of it was an ocean sound with this just relaxing self hypnosis stuff. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I started reading about past life regression. My freshman year of college, everybody else would go out and party on Friday nights, and I would have a group of friends I'd hypnotize.
Yep.
I was that person, right?
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Now I look back and I'm like, that's why I didn't have a lot of friends. I was really weird. But that's okay. The friends I had were also weird drama people, let's do hypnosis. And it was amazing. So hypnosis is great for fears and phobias, pain management. I love doing pre and post op hypnosis. So if you're heading for surgery,
Mm,
hypnosis is one of the coolest things you can do. Um, Pregnancy, there's something called hypnobirthing where it allows you to use less medication. Um, Smoking cessation, weight loss, those are the two most common and the two I don't do. Past life regression, I do mythic and archetypal journeys where it's this 3 hour thing where you slay the dragon and meet the witch and, get the magic book. And it's the brain understands symbols. So when you have to slay the dragon and you get a gift and your brain goes, "Oh, you were given whatever you make up in your brain," it tends to be kind of life changing in a way, right? Because you get to have this really cool fantasy and walk away with knowledge. Hypnosis goes directly to your subconscious. You will not get lost in hypnosis. Media has done a no good service for us. You're not going to drop into the floor. You're not going to hear clink, clink, clink of a glass and just fall in. Um, you're not going to do things on stage that you wouldn't do off stage. So if you go to some, graduation night, crazy hypnosis thing, anybody that's up there smacking their own butt and pretending to be Beyonce, that's because they would do that off stage, not in hypnosis. You're not going to go on a killing spree. You're not going to give your PIN number. You're not going to run down the street naked, unless those are things that you would do not in hypnosis. So, you can't get trapped. They're not going to take control of your brain. This is why people shy away from that modality, but it's fabulous. I've seen some incredible results from it. And I wouldn't say it's a substitute to back to your original question. It's not really a substitute for coaching or therapy because it's more incident specific. So, like, if you're a smoker, it'll help you smoking. I don't know that I would do regular hypnosis just for kind of life stuff because that's
Mhm.
sort of not what it's for. But like when I do coaching with clients, if I see that something pops up that I'm like, hey, let me throw you in the chair. Let's decrease your stress. Let's talk about that anxiety. Oh, this part is really anxious. Let's take that part into hypnosis. So
Nice.
I have, as a client the other day said, an arsenal of things which I can pull out of the toolbox for whatever anybody needs. Sometimes I have them do an improv,
That's
which
cool.
is a load of fun in my office. Um, Now AI. Okay, so it's here. It's new. And when humans get a shiny new thing, we want to play with it. We
Mhm.
want to tell everybody about it. We want to explore the thing. Great. Knock yourselves out. Here's the problem with using your chat GPT or whatever you're using as therapy. It is not trained to do that. And as we saw recently in the news, one kid who started out using it as a homework assistant started confessing all this stuff and they ended up killing himself
Mhm.
because he said, I don't know how it went down, but something to the effect of, this is just so terrible. Maybe I'll just kill myself. How would I do that? And the bot started telling him how to do it, and he ended up killing himself. So here's one of the first cases where a family is suing the mother company of this
Mhm.
thing because they feel that it's responsible for their son. And I can't imagine how horrible that would be, killing himself. So it's not perfect, right? I'm hoping that in my correspondence with someone, I'm not going to start to tell them how to go kill themselves. I will guarantee you I'm not doing that. The other thing about therapy and coaching is my job is not to make you feel better. My job is to challenge you, to call you on your BS, to push you to be the best you can be. A chat
Yeah.
bot thing normally just soothes you. It might give you some good advice. Like I literally had a question about a proposal that I was writing, and I said, "Should I throw in this?" And it went, it probably didn't notice that. Da, 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 da. So I've used it for editing. I've used it for searches. But I'm not going to have a conversation with it. I know that's sort of what it's for, but just beware. It's not going to give you the same exchange that I would as a coach or a psychologist would. Like I said, my job's not to make you feel better. It's just
Yeah.
not. It's to challenge you and push you, and to not give you the answer you want to hear. I don't solve your problem for you. Because people come to me and they think they're gonna lay out a problem and go, "What should I do?" And I go, "I can't tell you what to do. What do you think you should do?" Which is a question they go, "Ah." But if I'm not making you think about the solution to your own problem, then you're never empowered to do that yourself.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the point of coaching and therapy.
Totally. That is fascinating. And I definitely see that too with ChatGPT. It's if you say something, it's more reinforcing and supporting and oh, you can do it, yada yada. But I love that your methodology is like I push you to be your best self and challenge,
Yep.
just settling for that and just like having trying to get an answer when you can dig deeper and your subconscious mind knows what's gonna be best overall.
Yeah. And sometimes there's not an answer. There's been situations that clients have brought to me and I go, "Dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like, let's figure this out. Let's figure out what's under that." And there's also, as much as they can say, "Oh, these chats start to feel things," and no, they're not feeling things. They're not feeling things. They can fake that they're feeling things, but it's not real feelings. And when I have a client crying in my office, and I can put a hand on their arm and hand them a Kleenex and give them a hug if they need it, that kind of support is not something you're getting from a machine.
Yeah.
And this is why everyone's like, "Oh, coaching is going to be, Chat GPT is going to take it over." I don't think so.
Mhm.
If it does, luckily, I'm also a massage therapist, and I can guarantee you ChatGPT is not taking that away. And same thing even with hypnosis. Like, I roll with what they tell me in that moment. I dance in that moment. Um, I don't think a machine has the ability to do that yet,
No.
and I hope we don't start to rely on it for that. So, have it help you with your homework. Have it tell you about the history of something something. Don't use it as therapy.
Wow, I love that perspective because I've seen so many different ones online and I've experimented with different things and yeah, I've came to the conclusion too that if you use it as like a therapist and things like that, it's just giving you answers, it's not making you think. And when you can actually think and you don't outsource your thought to ChatGPT, whether it's therapy or writing essays and things, like your thoughts and are so much more valuable and will help
Yep.
you so much more.
Well, and can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, sure.
I am so sorry for everybody that's listening to this that's under 25. who has never known life without this.
Yeah,
Oh,
me
my
too.
wedding picture.
And
Um, there's no space for stillness. There's no space for daydreaming. There's no space for boredom. There's no space for face-to-face conversation. And, in the good old days, and I get to say that now, if I'm standing in line at CVS or a restaurant or the post office, I would probably have an engagement with the person around me. We would end up talking about something. I've gotten clients from standing in line places. Um, we would have a human connection with another human. And now what's the first thing we do? Oh, I wonder what's happening on Twitter. Oh, look at these funny cat videos. I know people that sit in a room together on their phones playing games or, the ability to connect with another human being is starting to go.
yeah,
And the younger generation is starting to lose the ability to understand facial expression and tone, vocal tone, because everything's happening on the phone. You're texting each other. I
mhm.
actually used to have to walk across the street and knock on the door and say, "Can Bruce and Brian come out and play? Hi, Mrs. Sarah." And I had to talk to her. Shout out to Mrs. Sarah, who's still with us in Pittsburgh. I still call her Mrs. Sarah. Like,
Aw,
I'm not an adult now, too. I just can't. I can't call, and her name's Kathy, too. I can't do it. I can't. She's Mrs. Sarah. But it's like I used to have to then have a conversation with an adult, or I'd call in a
right,
home phone. It's a thing that hangs from the wall with a cord. The parent would answer, and I'd have to have a conversation with them, and then I would get on the phone with a friend, and I'd stuck onto the cord, and it was such a simpler, I think, in a way, better time
yeah,
because there wasn't this constant distraction to take you away from your own thoughts. And I think that quiet introspection is really missing, and I think very strongly that we should spend more time just in ourselves and not with some device. And I love that schools across the country are now bell to bell,
banning
no
it, yep.
phones. I love that. And I'm like, why did this take so long? This is horrible for everybody. So I'm glad we have it. Believe me, I'm the first one to do connections in the morning and to post my TikTok videos. I do TikTok videos every day on awakening and how my awakening journey's been going, and use it as a tool, not an escape.
That is extremely valuable, and I'm completely on the same page with you. Sometimes I wish it was back in the old days, as you say, where it was real connection, and humans, we crave connection, and I think that that's why, like, all the anxiety and depression and stress has gone up. We're not connecting with people anymore, we're connecting with the technology or a phone that's not real, and I'd love to ask you, for the people that have never lived without, like, telephones and technology like this, what is your advice for them to connect again with their inner self and things deeper than, escaping through technology all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find somewhere I have my journal, and there was a passage that Eckhart Tolle said that I'm never going to find on my completely overrun desk. Um, just find stillness. Just put the phone down. Set it if you need to be on your phone, or if you want to look at Facebook or whatever everyone's looking at now. Set a timer. Be like, I get
Mm,
20 minutes of this, and then I'm done. Read a book, not on a device. Like, actually read a book.
yep,
It's so much better for our brains to actually write things out in longhand, which you were probably not even taught. Curse of the loopy writing no one knows anymore.
love it.
Writing things out in longhand, it's better for our affirmations, it's better for our goal setting, shopping lists, to-do lists. We get more done when we actually take pen to paper. I have a real appointment book where I write down all my
That's
appointments.
awesome.
It's crazy. And I see younger people going back to that and not putting everything in their phone. If one person says to me, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed my appointment. My phone didn't sync." You know what did sync? My book that I took a pen and wrote in. So, I think we're getting so reliant on technology, and at some
Yeah.
point it's going to fail, and people are going to put their sleeves over their hands and go, "I don't know what I'm doing,"
Mhm.
which is going to be a problem. So put the device down. Have a friend over for lunch, or go walk in the park, or like actually say good morning to people on the street.
Yeah.
People are stunned when you do that now. I say good morning and they're like,
I
oh, oh,
know.
oh, hi. Like they don't know what to do with a live person talking to them.
It's
um
crazy.
and like you said, we do crave connection, but this kind of connection is not what we want.
Mhm.
We need in person, face to face, feel the emotion of another person. We're losing our ability to be empathetic with other people because we don't have to feel anything. And the quote that I was going to try to find, which I'll never find, Eckhart Tolle, who's one of my favorite spiritual teachers, was
He's
talking
awesome.
about this online persona and I'm going to butcher it, but he said something to the effect of, it is a heightened imagined persona or something like that.
Mhm.
You know, what we put on social media is not who we are.
Oh,
Some people, sure, they get raw. They're very open. I'm very open about who I am on social media. But I'll tell you, if I've had a good dinner, I'm posting it. If I've had a really cool time at a play, I'm posting. So I'm the food person, right? So if you don't, sorry, but I'll post aerial pictures. I'll post pictures of my husband and I. Like I said, TikTok is me just talking about awakening and hoping people can help with that. But most people's personas on social media is not real.
right.
It is this heightened, exaggerated, fake thing,
Of
and
what
we're
they
trying to
wish.
compare ourselves with that, and this is why we have so much depression and anxiety, especially among young women, and now I understand young men, because they're seeing these beefed out guys in
Yep.
perfect lighting who've greased themselves up, and they're like, "I wanna look like that." It's not real.
Mm.
It's not real, and it makes me so sad because we're trying to compete with this thing that is impossible to win. And to me, there's just I just feel this contraction. There's this sadness because of that. Because we're trying to live up to some absolutely fake ideal that doesn't exist. Body image problems and eating disorders, and now we're seeing more boys and men with eating disorders and this body dysmorphia. And it just breaks my heart because the human body, at whatever size and shape, is a miracle.
Yes,
So
yes.
to fuck with it, to make it look like something else, because that's what that chick on TikTok did,
Mhm.
that's so depressing to me. And it's just it breaks my heart.
Yeah. Well, wow, and thank you for the passion that you have and what you do, because you're fixing these problems and you're sharing these, like, pieces of amazing advice with people that really need to hear it, and
Yeah.
with
Well,
that
and
body
the
part. Yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I can't fix the problem. I
Right.
can't fix the problem.
You can't fix it.
Each individual has to fix the problem, and
Right.
we're not empowered to fix the problem. We're empowered to be sheep. Well,
Yes.
we're not even empowered to be, we're just taught this is the way we're not taught critical thinking. We're not
No.
I did not have to do geometry once today,
Yeah.
but I had to communicate, deal with relationships, pay bills, get out in the world. I had to deal with politics. I had to deal with social media. I mean, we're not taught how to do any of that. We just
No.
have to muddle through and figure it out. So screw geometry. I want people to be taught how to be a good human. And we're not taught that anymore.
Right. We
Well,
have to
we
step
never
out of
were,
that
but
box.
yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing, and wow, this has been such a fulfilling conversation. Thank you for connecting with me as much as we can over technology
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. Well, it's good to see your face at least.
Yes, I know, that's a step up from the text with no tone
Yeah,
kind of voice,
exactly.
so
Thank
that's
God we have emojis.
amazing. Yeah. Well, are you ready for our previous guest's question?
I'm ready.
Okay, this one's a fun one. I like it. Okay. What is your favorite color to wear and look
Mm.
at, and what emotion does it evoke? This is
Oh, well,
perfect with your mindfulness.
And this is so easy. Orange. I've got orange
Orange.
everywhere. I've got
Oh, it's
orange
happy.
yoga mat. I got yeah, my phone case is orange. Um, I've always been attracted to orange, but when I started wearing orange, and it's funny because I almost wore my orange sweater because I get so many compliments about how I look and that sort of like this shade of orange.
Wow.
You can see my sweater on my that was the sweater I was gonna wear.
Yes.
Um, I get so many compliments on how it looks on me. So I just feel like I look good in orange, but also it's this uplifting,
Right.
happy, perky sort of sunrise kind of color.
Oh.
So yeah, orange all the way. That was an easy one.
Oh,
That was
that's
an easy one.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Dr. Kathy,
Yeah.
and thank you for all of the amazing tips that you shared today. I learned so much, and this was really, really fun conversation to have with you, and I'm so grateful that we got to connect and that you answered on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah. Hey, I wanna I wake up to help every day.
Yeah, and if
So
more people wanna learn about you, where can they find your, website and your videos? 'Cause I know you have
yeah.
a podcast and
Oh, I do. We've got a new podcast, Intentional Awakening podcast. We're on our like 11th episode. Girlfriend Terry and I are doing it.
yay.
So I'm at kathygruver.coach if you want to do some coaching. kathygruver.com. You can see some of my speaking videos on social media everywhere. I just said get off social media. But if you want to follow me on social media, it's Dr. Kathy Gruver, typically Dr. Kathy Gruver. I'm on what am I on? Instagram, LinkedIn,
TikTok.
TikTok, Facebook because
Yes.
I'm old, so I get to still be on Facebook and be like, "What are my high school friends doing?"
Aw. Awesome. Well, this has been such an honor, Dr. Kathy. Thank
Oh,
you.
thanks for having me. I appreciate
Yeah.
you, and I'm so impressed with what you're doing. Keep up the
Thank
good work
you.
yourself.